My name is Erin Baldwin, and today I will be discussing with you the importance of vaccinations. Vaccines have been successful in protecting the world and the population from deadly diseases such as measles, smallpox, and polio for the last several decades. However, recently individuals have begun to question whether or not the vaccines that are being administered to their children and themselves are effective, and whether the ingredients that they contain are causing more harm to their bodies than they have good. And people are also starting to question if these vaccines that they are receiving are even effective in protecting them from these deadly diseases. This is incredibly problematic as diseases that were once considered completely eradicated or were extremely rare are beginning to make a comeback, and thus we are seeing an increased number of outbreaks amongst these anti-vax communities. We're going to discuss the history of the smallpox vaccine a little bit, which was the first vaccine that was ever created. According to Deborah Lee and Rosalind Carson DeWitt in an article they had written titled Point Vaccines Save Lives, the smallpox vaccine was invented in the 19th century by Dr. Edward Jenner following a deadly smallpox outbreak. He had claimed that by injecting a weakened form of the virus, or a dead form of the virus, that the human body would ultimately build up a resistance and an immunity to the diseases that they were trying to protect against. He is credited for saving millions of lives, as his discovery ultimately led to the complete eradication of the virus and led to the creation of many other vaccines that we now see today, including the polio vaccine, which was created by Dr. Jonas Salk in 1955. He adopted his idea from Jenner and again was injecting people with a weakened form of the virus. And thankfully this worked because the polio virus was extremely horrible, and according to Lee and Carson DeWitt, the crippling disease often left victims partially paralyzed, unable to walk, and sometimes unable to breathe. The most famous case of the poliovirus was contracted by Franklin D. Roosevelt during his presidency, and he was left paralyzed from the waist down. So many other doctors followed the lead of Salk and Jenner and created all of the vaccines that we see today. So ultimately, according to Lee and Carson DeWitt, life was made easier for children and was also much safer than it had ever been before. So who do vaccines protect? Most people believe that vaccines protect just the individual, which is true. However, vaccines are also essential in protecting the entire population, and such as people who have health complications and severe allergies, pregnant women, newborns, and even the elderly. So according to an article posted by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services titled 5 Important Reasons to Vaccinate Your Child, some babies are too young to be protected by vaccinations. Others may not be able to receive certain vaccinations due to severe allergies, weakened immune systems from conditions such as leukemia, or other reasons. So it is important for all of those who can receive vaccines that they absolutely do, because these individuals have weakened immune systems and are obviously at an increased risk. And due to their weakened immune systems, their body would not be able to fight off these diseases as one may would with a more developed or healthier immune system. So these vaccinations also protect pregnant women, as the contraction of these diseases by a pregnant woman can ultimately lead to a miscarriage, unfortunately. And also newborns are protected. So newborns do not have a fully developed immune system when they are born, which means that they cannot protect themselves from these deadly diseases. And unfortunately, babies cannot receive immunizations until 2 months of age or older. According to an article titled What Would Happen If We Stopped Vaccinations, posted by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, an epidemic of rubella, or German measles, in 1964 through 1965 killed 2,000 babies and caused 11,000 miscarriages. So this is why it is so important that if you are around a pregnant woman, or just in general, just to be around pregnant women and newborn babies, that you do receive vaccinations if you are able to. Vaccines also protect the elderly because, like newborns, the elderly have weakened immune systems, but that is because that theirs are considered to be more geriatric than a newborn. So again, they are unable to fight off infections, and according to an article written by Peter Hotez titled America and Europe's new normal, the return of vaccine-preventable diseases. The year 2018 was noticeable, as one of the worst flu seasons in decade, which resulted in 80,000 deaths. Most of these deaths were, unfortunately, the elderly and or newborn babies because their bodies are less capable of fighting off just a simple common flu. So it is important that, again, those who are able to receive vaccinations absolutely do receive them. So why are people opting against vaccinations? Well, many believe that they are no longer necessary because they believe that because these diseases are so rare or completely eradicated that they are no longer necessary. So unfortunately, these diseases are returning, and according to HOTES, the United States has experienced 220 measles cases, including outbreaks among mostly unvaccinated individuals, obviously. So this is horrible as the people are seeming to believe that these diseases are completely gone, that they no longer exist, and unfortunately that is not the case, and we are seeing outbreaks all over. So many people argue that vaccines are unsafe and that they do not undergo proper safety testing, and this is a popular argument in the fight of why individuals do not want to vaccinate themselves or their children. So in an article written by Gary Null in a journal titled Voodoo Sciences, The Myth of Vaccine Efficacy, the polio vaccine is recognized as the fastest approved drug in FDA history. No significant research could have ever been carried out in such a short span of time, and it was quickly administered without proper federal review. This, if it were absolutely true, would be incredibly dangerous, as it is important that the FDA monitor side effects and reactions to the drugs that they are administering to the public. Null also stated that researchers cannot or will not adequately test a vaccine's immunogenicity prior to its release onto an unsuspecting public. So this is a pretty vague argument, as he doesn't seem to believe that vaccines are tested at all, which is completely untrue, because if that were the case, then we would obviously be seeing much more serious reactions or a larger number of reactions to the vaccines that are being released. So vaccines obviously have been proven to undergo extreme and thorough testing before they are released to the public. And in an article titled "For Parents, Vaccine Your Children," posted by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, before the FDA approves a vaccine for use by the public, highly trained FDA scientists and doctors evaluate the results of studies on the safety of vaccines. So this is important, as people are concerned that their children are being given vaccines that are not tested, which is untrue. So also, according to the article "For Parents, Vaccines for Your Children," the U.S. vaccine safety system continuously monitors for possible side effects after the FDA licenses vaccine. So what this means is that many years and months and decades after a vaccine is released, the FDA continues to monitor any side effects or new reactions that are seen amongst the groups of vaccinated individuals. So this keeps them safe, and it keeps vaccines effective. Another popular and common argument is that vaccines contain harmful ingredients that pose no purpose at all, such as formaldehyde, aluminum, and thimerosal, also known as ethyl mercury. So the concern with formaldehyde, obviously, is that it is dangerous for people to be exposed to it. And in an article titled "What Goes into a Vaccine," posted by the Public Health Administration, several studies have linked strong long-term formaldehyde exposure to certain types of cancer. And this fact alone encourages individuals to stray away from getting themselves and their children vaccinated, as obviously we do not want unnecessary chemicals that are considered dangerous to be administered. And aluminum is also a common ingredient found in vaccinations. And according to the article "What Goes into a Vaccine," there have been some evidence that long-term exposure to high amounts of aluminum can contribute to brain and bone disease. And again, why would anybody want to put their child or themselves at risk of contracting these horrible, deadly, and dangerous diseases? So another ingredient that is commonly found or said to be found in vaccinations is thimerosal or ethyl mercury. And mercury poisoning is said to cause brain damage and nervous system damage. And for some reason, there's an argument out there that also says that the mercury that vaccines are said to contain can cause autism. So according to an article written by Sephra McKee and Kristen Bohannon titled Exploring the Reasons Behind Parental Refusal of Vaccines, many parents do not see the preventable diseases as serious or life-threatening and would prefer not to put extra chemicals into their children's bodies. However, there have been several studies that state that the ingredients found within vaccines are not harmful at all and all pose very specific and important purposes. So formaldehyde is found in very, very minute quantities in vaccines. So it is essentially used as a preservative, and it kills off bacteria or protects the vaccine during transportation or storage. So the amount of formaldehyde in a vaccine is considerably small and ultimately poses no risk. And according to the article What Goes Into a Vaccine, newborn babies contain 50 to 70 times more formaldehyde than a single dose of vaccine. So this is an important fact, as people seem to believe that formaldehyde is this incredibly dangerous chemical, which of course it is. However, human bodies do contain a certain amount of formaldehyde. And people are also worried about the aluminum, obviously. However, aluminum is a natural occurring element, and it is found in breast milk, air, soil, water, and many other everyday substances that individuals will come in contact with. So this shouldn't be a concern, as again, it is seen every day. We come in contact with it every single day of our lives, so it is of no harm to an individual. And most popularly, again, thimerosal or ethyl mercury has been said to cause autism, and this chemical has not been used since the 1930s in any vaccine at all, and it also is not the dangerous form of mercury. So, according to Peter Hotez, again, the changes in a kid's brain with autism begins prenatally, meaning before the child has ever become immunized. So obviously, this chemical would not cause autism, as the disorder is said to be contracted or develops before the child is even born. And Hotez also claims that 99 genes have been discovered to be associated with the development of autism, and obviously vaccines have no effect on whether or not your child will develop autism. So in conclusion, there are an incredible amount of reasons why vaccines are incredibly important in protecting society. They have been a safe and effective form of protecting against diseases such as measles, polio, the flu, mumps, rubella, everything since their discovery by Edward Jenner in the 19th century. Without vaccines, diseases that once terrorized the world would surely make a vengeful comeback, and we would begin to see outbreaks everywhere. People would begin to die because of these diseases because they are not protected against them. And no studies have proven that the reasons that those who choose not to vaccinate are valid. So all of the reasons that they are concerned have been debunked and have essentially been proven wrong. So vaccines have and always will be the safest and most effective way to prevent current and future generations from preventable diseases. Thank you.